many people use Waze or Google Maps to get here today? A few of you? How many use that when you travel to, like, I'm going on a trip to Pennsylvania? So you're used to using these tools for yourself. I'd like you to think about how you could use them in your classroom. Google Maps is one of the easiest tools you could use to integrate some technology into your classroom. If you think about the 4th grade skills for social studies, one of the skills is talking about how the church developed and where we have the church in our county. And it's really nice and easy to bring up a Google map of where our basilica is located. You're in Hudson County, but it's expensive to get a bus to travel to Newark. So this way you can take a virtual classroom. And then if you want, you can drag a little yellow guy onto the map and say to the kids, hey, let's take a look at what it looks like around the block, around the basilica. What would it look like if you walked there? And then you can switch over to the satellite view of the map and you can talk about, you know, boys and girls, we were talking about bodies of water. Are there any interesting bodies of water around the basilica? So Google Maps is a real easy tool to use in any content area. If you're talking about where explorations happened in science, if you want to talk about how far is it to get from here to there. I was even shocked because I started looking around at Niagara Falls and I figured the road's pretty far away from the falls, but Google actually took their cameras and walked down to several viewing points. So you could take your kids on a virtual trip to Niagara Falls and have those discussions about why do you think those people are wearing yellow rain jackets next to the falls? What do you think it'd be like to visit it? The next idea I'd like to share with you is that fact that we want our students to recognize what they're learning and what they're getting out of their learning. And one of the things that I really love doing is looking at all the schools' Facebook and Twitter feeds. I learn a lot about what the students are doing, what they're learning, and usually the principals or whoever's in charge of the page is great about putting a paragraph up there saying, this is what our kids did. But a lot of times I look at those pictures, and as a parent I can imagine looking at those pictures going, wow, there's my kid. Gee, I wonder what she thought about this little project. And one of our tech skills is to have our students take those beginning steps in explaining what they're doing in social media. Now, we don't want our 4th graders being on social media, but we can begin to let them write a few sentences for the principals to post. And then it gives you that moment to discuss with the students if she, if her explanation was, wow, I never thought about my cousin Sally. She lives on Walnut Street in Roselle Park, and I was thinking about how hard it must be for her, and you can have that discussion. Well, where's the principal going to put this? Do you think we really need to say she lives on Walnut Street? Do we need her last name? Isn't it just enough to explain what you learned? So this is a really easy, if you're not comfortable with technology, thing to do. Most of our schools have iPads, and if they don't, most of you have a digital camera. And you want to have that conversation with the kids and just say, when we're learning something, if you're really proud of what you did, if you're really into what we're doing, borrow my camera, borrow my iPad, take a photo, have your friend take a photo of you, and write down a sentence or two and say, what is it you're learning and what excites you about it? And then you can just forward that on to your principal, and that can become part of your Facebook page or your Twitter feed. So spot those student learning moments, and again, it helps with that domain 4 of how do you help your parents connect to the curriculum that you're giving your students, right? Okay, so now we know that the brain works better and grows better when we're moving. How many of you use Go Noodle in class? Okay. What do you like about it?
I like the different topics to use. Mostly I use the, right before they take the test, that little video, just breathe.
Oh, yes, yes. Go Noodle, if you've never used it, it's a free website and it has videos intended to both get kids excited and moving. So if you're trying to work on a project and they are just dead. For example, I worked about 3 or 4 years ago with a group of 5th graders, and the teacher was out for the day. The principal said, could I do a double period? The teacher's going to leave your work, no big deal. So the work was research your president. Well, think about this, 5th graders. for 80 minutes researching president. It's not going to cut it. So, they were about 30 minutes into the work, and I could see, the giggles starting and, all the nonsense. And so I thought, you know what, I thought this was a baby website, but I'm going to bring it up. So I brought it up, I like to move it. Oh my gosh, they got up, they moved, they were laughing. And the next thing you know, after the song was over, they were ready to work. Or like her example was Just Breathe, where you gotta go take a test, maybe you just ran in from recess, and you're like crazy people, but you need to calm down. It's a great way to use it. So what I'd like you to do is put your thing on a chair, stand up for a minute. You can have a seat. It's just that idea of, even ourselves as grown-ups, you're getting some ideas, you're sitting there, you're writing some notes, but you know what, 35 minutes is even a long time for us to sit. And imagine our kids, we're saying to them, sit down, stop moving, do this, do that. Even if you in your classroom have an open classroom where kids are always moving around and sitting where they want and doing what they need to, they still sometimes need to refocus or to just get more energy. So this is a great website I would definitely suggest you taking a look at. Another big skill across all our grade levels is research and information fluency. In the younger grades, a book is still a great tool. I had a set of 1970s encyclopedias that I would start my fourth graders researching on because there's something important about having a small bit of information to focus on. But as a teacher, talk to your tech integration specialist. If they're researching presidents, the White House has some great ways to look at the presidents. Or Fact Monster, or the CIA World Fact Book. They can help you find content that you could send your kids to just a single web page, rather than saying to the kids, go search everything, right? Also, if you've never heard of Wolfram Alpha, it doesn't matter if you teach art, or gym, or music, or social studies, or math. Wolfram Alpha is not a search engine, it's an information engine. And it only goes to factual places. So for instance, I could type Monet, and it's going to give me a picture of Monet, tell me when he was born, where he was born, when he died, what he died, You could do the same thing for George Washington. It's just the facts, and it's very concise. You can type in a color, and it'll tell you what are the components of the color, and what does it look like. We're going to end with two last quick thoughts. Google Hangouts and Skype. Those are two great tools you could use in your classroom. If you don't know it, there are many authors who will do a free Skype session into your classroom. And so if you'd like to get some help with a list of those authors, we can help you do that. You might be able to Skype an expert. Maybe you know somebody who was in the Olympics and you'd like to bring into your gym class that person who can talk to you about what was it like to be in the Olympics. Or maybe you have somebody who works at Merck or Schering-Plough who can share their real-life science experience. And another thing that you might want to think about is a mystery Skype. In a mystery Skype, two classes talk to each other and play a game of 20 questions. So you might have a mystery saint Skype, where one school has a saint and another school has a saint. You could do it in your building between the 6th grade and the 4th grade. And they just take turns asking questions. Is your saint a man? No. Did your saint live since the year 2000? No. And they keep going back and forth until they figure out who it is. But again, you're building those technology skills of, I'm bringing people into my classroom. They're digital, but do we treat them any differently? Do we still stay calm? Do we invite them and say welcome? So these are the kind of skills that you as a classroom teacher can bring excitement into your lesson, but help bring in those technology skills while building those teacher evaluation skills. So there are so many things that your tech integration specialists are going to be bringing back to you. It's not up to you to do it all. If they say to you, hey, do you know we have Google Classroom or we have Edmodo? It doesn't mean that you have to drop everything and do it, but take a listen to what they're talking about and think about how maybe you can bring a little bit of a different twist to your classroom and make a plan to give it a try. Start small, and maybe in 3 or 4 years you're going to grow big, or maybe you're already doing this and you can buddy up with somebody in the next classroom. One of the best ways teachers learn is to have somebody right next door that they can run and say, I'm using Go Noodle. Oh, I can't make it stop. And you can talk to the person next door. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have us kind of do that cha-cha slide out the door, and you can head on to your next event. And if you have any questions, come on up. It was a pleasure talking to you. You're welcome. Yes.